In the last session, we discussed about user creation. When you get access to fresh instance from Oracle as a part of implementation project, we have to log into the instance with the same user credentials what we get from Oracle. As a part of our classes, you will get login credentials for the instance. With those username and password, you can connect to the instance. What are the process we followed in the yesterday session or say last session? The same process you can follow to create your user. We have seen how to create the implementation user. We created user as a Google and we assign these two roles, application implementation consultant and IT security manager. Also, we discussed about the purpose of these two roles. Application implementation consultant role will give the access to FSM. FSM stands for functional setup manager. By using FSM, you can do the setups for any application. You take any application, we can perform the setups by using FSM, functional setup manager. If you assign IT security manager role to user, that user can have access to security console. From the security console, that user can create new users and that user can assign the roles to the same or other users. So role management can be performed from IT security manager. If you are going to work as a consultant in any implementation after learning this course, you can just apply for the job to work as a consultant to work in the implementation or support projects. So if you are working for any project, we require access to these two roles, application implementation consultant and the IT security manager role. These roles will give full privileges to the instance. So these are the points we discussed. The same we have seen in the system, how to create the user, how to assign the roles. Because of the roles, user is able to get access to FSM as well as security console or not be verified. And when you create the user, we are using the category. That role category we are using and user category we are using. That user category level, how you can set the certain controls related to username creation as well as the password policy. Okay, the password policies. These details how to set up we discussed. In today's session, let's talk about FSM. If you want to implement, we have to do all the setups from FSM only. So already discussed the meaning of FSM is functional setup manager. By using the functional setup manager, you can do the setups for any application so that you can record the transactions. If you are going to deal with FSM, we have to understand certain terminology. The previous classes we discussed, these all are different product families. Okay, these all we call as different product families. These all we are calling as different product families. Let me copy this. So these product families as per FSM, is all product families we call as options. As per FSM, these product families we call as options. So financials we call as one option. SCM, supply chain management we call as option. And HCM is an option. And PPM is an option. CRM is one option. These are the different options are available as a part of FSM. So already discussed, these we call as product families. Yes, these we call as product family. But as per FSM, you can call these product families as option also. So each product family we are calling as one option. And if you call financials is one of the option, inside of the financials, we have a different applications. Already we discussed those. Please take the short names for our further discussion. APR, CM, FA, GL. These applications we are calling as core financials application. Now, if you are calling as financials as one of the option, what about the applications what we have inside of the financials? Inside of the financials, we have say AP, accounts payable, AR, account receivables, CM, cash management, FA, fixed assets, GL, general ledger application. Financials we are calling as option. What about these applications? As per FSM, each application you can call as, okay, one of the, here, these we are, these are the options, take here. These we call as offerings. Sorry, I just taken wrong. Offering. So the each product family we are calling as offering, and within each offering, what are the different applications we have, we call as option. So this is the terminology we have to understand. As per FSM, what does it mean by offering? Means offering is nothing but specific product family. What does it mean by option? Option is equal to specific application, or you can call as a module. So this is the terminology we have to understand when we deal with the FSM. So as a part of fresh implementation, when we are working as a consultant, the very first activity what we have to do is creating our own user. Creating our own user, Oracle will provide, or our client will provide one user. They provide as a FA admin. In some implementations, we may get the different user, but there is a seeded user which is available in all the instances. But this user you cannot find from Security Console. In the last session, we created our user as a Google from Security Console, but this FA admin user you cannot find from the Security Console. The reason is, so if they allow you for FA admin from the Security Console, you can change the password. That is the one and only the user, which is the default for every instance. That is the reason Oracle is not allowing us to change the password for that. When they are providing instance for any client, for this FA admin user, they'll set some specific password and they'll provide this user, or else they create different user and they'll provide. With that user, you can create your own user. That is the first step. As a part of implementation, the very first step is you have to create your own user. What is the second step? So what are the offerings and options we are going to implement for our client? Those offerings and options we have to enable in the instance. Say you are going to implement offerings like financial, supply chain management, and HCM, human capital management. If you are going to implement these three offerings for one of the client, in our instance, we have to enable these three offerings. Inside of these offerings, what are the options are available, which options we are going to implement, those also we have to enable. Okay, as a part of FSM, the very first step is we have to enable the offerings and options. Enable offerings and options. After enabling offerings and options, you have to create implementation project. Create implementation project. The purpose of implementation project is to perform the setups. With the help of implementation project, we can perform the setup. When we talk about implementation project, don't take as a real implementation project where we do all the activities of project. This is not related to project execution management. Implementation project means how we execute the entire project, that comes under implementation project. But as a part of FSM, within the FSM, what are the implementation project we are creating? This is only for the purpose of setups. Means as a part of your implementation project, you have to do one of the activity called as doing the setups in the instance. To perform those setups, you can use the implementation project in the instance environment. Okay. So create implementation project. Why we have to create implementation project? To do the setups. That's all. So this is the point you have to understand. After creating implementation project, which offerings and which options? I took example only for financials. In the same way, SCM we have a different options. For HCM we have a different options. In PPM we have a different options. So as per client business, for what are the offerings and options client take in the subscription, those we have to enable first. Okay, which offerings and options we are going to implement for the client, The same time, for which offerings and options client take in the subscription, those we have to enable. Then we have to create the implementation project to perform the setups. Now you are going to do the setups for which offerings and options, those we have to select into implementation project. Say, select offerings and options in implementation project. Okay. Implementation project. Say, for example, you enable financials offering, and within that you enable all the different options. After creating implementation project, if you want to select financials and SEM, not possible. You enabled only financials. You can select only financials into implementation project. If you want to select SEM also into implementation project, first you have to enable SEM offering, and within the SEM, what are the different applications we have, those we are calling as options. Those options we have to enable. Okay, whatever you enable, those only you can select into project. Whatever you select into project, you can do that relevant setups only from the project. So this is what we have to understand. Once you select offerings and options into implementation project, system creates task list. Say, we'll see all those. Let's take the steps which we have to follow when we talk about FSM, that to implementation project. We'll see all these very, very detailed level in the system. So just make a note of these points as of now. Okay, system creates task list. So whenever you select offerings and options into implementation project, system creates task list. What does it mean by task list? Say, for example, you enabled offering called as financials. Within this financials, you enabled option called as, say, only AP, just for our understanding purpose. You enabled offering called as financials. Within the financials offering, we have multiple options. In those options, you enabled only one option. Now, when you create implementation project, you can select only that financials offering. In that financial offering, only one option is enabled, that only you can select into your implementation project. Now, system will create the task list. System will create the task list to perform the setups for only AP application. Because only AP is selected into implementation project along with the financials offering. So task list means list of setups for each and every application. As a part of implementation project, what are the different options? What are the different applications we are selecting from one or multiple offerings? For all those applications to do the implementation, we have to do the setups. So which setups are available in each and every application, that system creates automatically. It will create the list of setups. It won't perform the setups. It will list out which setups need to be completed by us. So that we call as a task list. Task list is nothing but list of setups which are belongs to specific option, or inside of the option also we can have a sub task list. So that's how system creates the task list. Once system will create the task list, you can start working on the implementation project. As per FSM, implementation project means doing setups. So after creating the task list, what we can do exactly in the system, we'll see. First, we'll go through this information. Okay. So from FSM, functional setup manager, we have to enable offerings and options. So we'll go and see how to enable the offerings and options. Before we proceed with the instance to enable offerings and options, to create implementation project, to select offerings and options. Any questions from anyone, please? Any questions from anyone, please? Okay, no questions. Now we'll see how to enable the offerings and options in case of fresh instance. So we created one user called as Google in the last session. Connect to this instance with the same user. Sign in. To this Google user, we assign the two roles, application implementation consultant and IT security manager. Now what we want to do? We want to enable offerings and options. Offerings nothing but product families. Option is nothing but application name. So now we have to enable offerings and options. Click on username. Click on setup and maintenance. If you click on setup and maintenance, this task will take us to FSM page. Just click on setup and maintenance task. And here you can see actions. And you can find the drop down also if you click on that actions. And here, one of the action is go to offerings. Okay, select go to offerings. So within this instance, what are the different offerings are available that you can see here. Okay, once you select go to offerings, it will take us to all the offerings which are available in this instance. Here you can see different offerings. Now we are talking about financials. We are going to deal with the financials. You can see financials offering is available here. You just click on the financials offerings icon. The right side, it will select the same information. Whatever you are selecting here as offering, you can see title as offerings. These are the different offerings. Okay, so select financials and it will display inside of these financials what we have exactly. Okay, what are the different applications we have, what exactly we have, that you can see here. You can read this content. So the financials offering is available with assets. Assets means fixed assets application. Ledgers means here general ledger application. Cash cycle means cash management application. Invoices and payments. Okay. So invoices and payments means payables application. And accounts receivable directly they're given as account receivables. And collections, there is separate application called as advanced collections. And subledger accounting, that is not an application specific feature, we'll work on those. And tax configuration. In any application, if you want to calculate the tax, we have a Fusion tax application. So these all are part of financials. Within the financials, you can find Fusion expense application also, but you have to take the separate license. If you take the subscription or license for financials, entire financials, you don't get Fusion expense application. For that, you have to pay separately to take the subscription or license. That is the reason, even that is a part of financials, they are not listing out with the name. Fine. So this is how you can find the financials. Just you can click on it. It shows the description. And in the very fresh instance, here you can see the status as a not enabled. Now this instance we are using for our classes and practice purpose or say testing purpose. So that is the reason in this instance, financials offering is already enabled. Anyway, we'll go and see how to enable. So already you could see here as it's enabled. So in the fresh instance, here the status you can find as a not enabled. When you see the status as a not enabled, you have to click on opt-in features. Click on opt-in features. So within the financials, what are the different options are available or sub process are available, and how to enable the offering called as financials. Within the financials, what are the different options are available, how to enable those we'll see. So here you can see financials. So in the fresh instance, here all these check boxes you don't see as a selected. Okay, this is all you can find as a disabled mode like this. Okay. This is all you can find as a disabled mode. All you can find with a disabled mode, you have to enable. Okay. Just wait for a second since I'm disabling. Just to refresh the same, it is taking time. Yeah. Disabling this also. So in the very fresh instance, okay, when you are working for any implementation project, if you just click on opt-in features, this is how the page will be displayed. Here you can see the financials is not enabled. If you enable financials, by default, you get general ledger application. You don't need to enable. See here, already it's enabled. If you enable financials, you will get general ledger application. Without general ledger application, you cannot use financials application. General ledger application is a base application. So that is the reason you no need to select, I want to implement financials. Within the financials, do we want to implement general ledger or not? You cannot take the decision. If you are going to use the financials without general ledger application, you cannot use financials. That is the reason by default that is selected. And supplier invoice processing means payables application. If you are going to implement payables application for our client, we have to enable this. If you are going to use the payables, you will get by default suppliers. Suppliers means supplier submodule also available as a part of payables only. Without suppliers, you cannot create any invoices and you cannot process any payments from payables application. Here, what you see as a supplier invoice processing, nothing but payables application. You can see here cash management banking. Cash management and banking is nothing but it's all about cash management application. If you enable supplier invoice processing, you will get cash management and banking also. That means cash management application also will get. So let's enable financials. Okay, say you are going to implement financials, you are enabling. Just wait for a moment, it will reflect the same. So already these are enabled, we disabled, and again we are enabling, that is the reason it's taking time. Okay, financials is enabled. So when you say financials enabled, you will get general ledger application by default. You don't need to select, you will get automatically. And if you are going to implement supplier invoice processing for client, nothing but accounts payable application, you can enable supplier invoice processing checkbox. So within the supplier invoice processing, by default, what available all you will get. You no need to choose all this. You will get by default. Suppliers, payables means invoices, payments means payments of related to suppliers, cash management and banking means that is cash management application. If you enable supplier invoice processing, you will get these 4 sub processes automatically along with the 3 sub processes or 3 sub options you can say. And cash management and banking is nothing but cash management application. And if you are going to implement expense, fusion expense application as a part of financials, we have to enable it. And you are going to implement fixed assets application, you should enable. If you are not implementing, disable it. Okay, disable it. Even if you are not implementing, if you enable, no issues at all. The system will select fixed assets also. If you are not implementing, no issues, don't implement so that you cannot use fixed assets application. That's all. In the same way, so other points also you can consider what are the other applications you are going to implement for your client. Accordingly, you can enable the offerings and options. Okay, fixed assets, customer invoice processing, nothing but receivable applications. If you want to implement the receivables application, you have to enable customer invoice processing checkbox. Okay, this is a checkbox we have to enable. If you are going to implement fixed assets, enable fixed assets option. Fixed assets application we call as one of the option. And along with that, if you are implementing receivables application, customer invoice processing means receivables. You enable this option, receivables option. Within the customer invoice processing, again they given receivables. Here receivables means creating the transactions and all. The application name is this customer invoice processing. That's how they are giving display name. It refers Oracle Fusion accounts receivable application. And again, within the customer invoice processing itself, if you enable it, by default, these three sub processes also or sub options are getting enabled. That is receivables. So that customer invoice processing means receivables only. Cash management and banking, you will get cash management application along with the receivables application also, or else you can get from payables. If you enable payables, you will get cash management and banking, nothing but cash management. Even in case of receivables, if you are going to use the receivables, we require bank accounts and all. When customer is making the payment, that amount we have to take into bank account. And for that, we have to maintain the bank accounts. So that you can manage by using the cash management for receivables application purpose. The same way, if you are going to implement collections application and revenue management and intercompany separate future budget concept, okay. And if you are going to perform the BI, business intelligence or business BI analysis, the data which is belongs to different applications, fixed asset, general ledger, payables, expense. If you are going to use this data for analysis purpose, make sure that all the checkboxes are enabled. So this is how the fresh instance, you have to enable the financials. What are the other different applications you are going to implement for your client? You have to enable all this. So within these applications, we'll have a certain features. Applications wise, we'll have a certain features. On top of it, if you want to enable anything, you can select against the financials, you can click on features. So when you are going to implement this financials application for any client, if any features which are not applicable directly in those selected offerings and options, those you can enable from here. Almost all are enabled. You don't need to enable anything. Just for information purpose, from here you can take the decision what else need to be enabled as a part of financials itself, which are not part of the offerings and options to take the decision. So certain features, say for example, client is going to use GRC applications. GRC means governance, risk and compliance applications. We have to enable so that on top of our financials, this GRC applications also can be implemented. So that's how the relevant options you can set. Ideally, you don't need to set anything by default. So whenever you do the implementation, enable offerings and options. Okay. Enable offerings and options. By using those offerings and options, you can create the implementation project. You can create the implementation project. And this is what we have to understand. So apart from that, we have one more point we will discuss. Okay. Just you can click on done. Say, for example, along with the financials, your project team is going to implement procurement also. So here you can select procurement. And you can see the description for procurement. This is also enabled here. So in the fresh instance, you see here as a not enabled. You have to click on opt-in features. Within the procurement offering, what are the different options? Options, nothing but applications are available. You can see. So what you are going to implement for your client, accordingly, you can select. Wait, it will list out. Yes. So procurement enable. And as a part of procurement, you have a purchasing application. And you have self-service procurement, or you can call as iProcurement application. And within this, you can see supplier portal application. Okay, supplier portal, nothing but iSupplier application, sourcing application, and procurement contracts. These are the different applications, nothing but different options which are available as a part of procurement offering. So as per your client business requirement, you can enable which offerings and options we are going to implement. So when it comes to procurement, within the procurement, which applications we are going to implement, those we can enable. You in the sense, not exactly we are going to work as a financials consultant. So this can be decided by SCM consultant, supply chain management consultant, or else there could be separate consultant only for procurement offering. So this is what you have to understand. Just click on done. And when you look at the offerings, the complete list, we are able to see here, okay, offerings, the complete list you can see. So here we discussed different offerings, HCM, PPM, CRM, etc. Here how you can notice. If you talk about PPM, so here is one offering called as project execution management and project financial management. So if you select these two are equal to PPM offering. If you want to implement HCM, human capital management, you have to select workforce deployment and workforce development. Okay, workforce development and workforce deployment. These two are equal to HCM, human capital management applications. That's how you have to combine specific sub offering names or offerings. That's how you can make the complete offering so that you can do the implementation. But when you talk about financials, they're given as a one only. Okay, they're not splitting into different parts to combine and call it as a financials. Financials, they are giving as a one of the offering directly. So, and you select financials here. Okay. Select financials. When you select financials, here you can see the relevant information, what we have inside of the financials. By clicking on opt-in features, we verified, okay, how we can enable and disable the relevant offerings and options. And you can find a related document section. Just expand it. And here you can see certain documents which talks about the futures. What are the futures are available as a part of this financials offering, and what are the task list and tasks to implement financials applications. Means financials application means within the financials we have a different options to implement those options. So what are the setups are available? Task list talks about list of setups as per FSM. So it will list out all the setups which need to be performed for financials application. And we have other documents also, related business objects and enterprise application. From here you don't get anything not required also. But these two documents are available. One is associated features. Within the financials, what are the features are available? The document is available. The documents are available in these three formats: PDF format, HTML, and Excel format. So you can download. But in this stage, you no need to touch that. Once we start doing the setups, you can just go through the document. You can just understand at least what we have. By following the document, you no need to do anything. Just for information purpose, Oracle is providing that associated feature and task list or tasks for our just reference purpose, just to have a look and understand. Once we get into this classes where we do the setups and all, we'll come to know all this. Okay. Just for information purpose, just remember, for each offering, they are providing related documents. What features we have inside of those documents, the financials offering, and what are the list of setups we have to perform to implement financials. This is all you can see as a part of related documents. You can download the document in any format. Okay, now it would be very early if you open and go through the document. Reality, you don't need to touch those documents also, just for your information purpose. You just remember these points. Okay, just remember this point. And one more point, new features. So based on this instance release, okay, so for each release, what are the features are available? Oracle will list out here. If you click on new features, it talks about what are the new features are available in this instance based on the which release we are using. Okay, which release we are using. Based on that, you can see here. So how we can find this instances belongs to which release or which version, what are the latest patches applied, and how you can identify. We'll go through those points. Okay. So we'll just go through those points. After that, we'll continue with the implementation project. So just we discussed how to enable offerings and options. So with respect to this enabling offerings and options, any questions from anyone, please?
Hello.
Questions? Yeah, please.
Yeah, Lishitha, if we go back to please go back to that financial offering. Here, like opt-in features, like we saw, like there were various opt-in features like suppliers, payables, payment, and cash management. So what do we call those? Like what do we call those inside that? Is it a menu?
Not menu.
Okay.
But each one you call as option.
No, option is fine. Like inside of AP also, we saw supplier, payable,
The sub
payment,
option
and
you can call sub.
Sub option.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But we
So,
don't have any choice to choose the sub options. If you're going to enable AP, what sub options are available, we are going to get to know detail level that they are displaying. We don't have any choice to choose or not to choose.
okay. Okay. So, so actually in one of the implementations, now what we saw is like we were sending the invoices to the payable modules, like to the suppliers we were receiving from the Fusion, and then payable modules we were sending it. And then after that, what happens? Maybe it will come later. So I might be okay. Sure.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone, please?
Sir, I have a general question.
Yeah.
We can do all the transactions from, the GL modules.
No.
Everything flows to GL.
Yeah, everything flows to GL. We cannot do everything from GL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see here, we discussed, these are the different finance applications. Okay. So each application we are using for specific purpose. This application for the purpose of purchase invoice and payment. This application for the purpose of sales invoice and receipts. This application for bank accounts purpose. This is for assets and depreciation. So from all these applications, we'll send this complete data to Oracle Fusion General Ledger application. Based on the data, we can prepare the financial reports. But within the General Ledger application, you cannot create purchase invoices and payments and sales invoice and receipts. Yep, that's how it works. Fine. Any other questions, please?
I have one question. So we are seeing supplier information in financials module. So
yes,
that module, and as well as procurement module as well.
Also, exactly.
Yes. So I mean, both are same.
Both are same. For supplier purpose, they are giving the separate sub module. Okay, supplier model. So what are the information? What are the suppliers you create in that supplier model, supplier sub application? So that information is accessible from procurement as well as financials, means payables application. Okay. That's how it is available. Okay. So suppliers information is shared across procurement applications and the financials application. That's how they are giving the option. Yeah. So any other questions, please? Okay, just we have seen how to enable the offerings and options. Now we'll discuss about application, versions and releases and other relevant information. After completing those points, we'll proceed with the implementation project creation. How to create implementation project, how to select offerings and options, how system can create the task list, we'll discuss. Now, so if you want to know what release of the instance we are using, easily you can check. How to check? Click on username. Once you connect to the instance, click on username. and go to hyperlink called as about this application. Just click on about this application. Please go on mute. When you have a question, you can unmute and you can raise the questions. When you don't have any questions, please go on mute. Okay, how we are coming to this pop-up page? We have to click on username and click on about this application. So when you click on about this application, here you can see one pop-up window. It says Oracle Fusion Cloud Applications 22C 11.13.22.07.0. So here, what does it mean by 11.13.22.07, etc. So Fusion applications version is 11. 11 means version. That is fixed. Okay. In 2005, when Oracle, 2015, when Oracle released the Fusion applications into market, the version was 11 only. That we call as 11G. We have a database version also as 11G, but Fusion application version also 11G. That is constant all the time. What Oracle changing is after 11, whatever the 13 you have, that is a release name. Version is 11 only. Right from beginning to till today, the version is fixed. Within that version, Oracle is keep upgrading from one release to another release. Very initially, when Oracle introduced this Fusion applications, the release 1, okay, release 2, release 3, release 4, release 5, release 6. Up to release 6, they didn't offer this product to any clients. From release 7 onwards, Oracle started giving this product to the clients to use this product in their organization as per their business process. After release 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, now the latest one is release 13. Okay, release 13. Latest one is release 13. And what is this 22 and 07? The 22 is nothing but year. What is the current year? 2022. From the 2022, they are taking last 2 digits. And what is the 7? 7 is month. Okay, 7 is month. 7 means July month. July month. That means in this instance, in year 2022 and the month, July month, they applied some patches. They upgraded this instance. Okay, they upgraded this instance. If any issues, fixing those issues. So any changes they want to introducing those changes. Those are all activities they did on this. I mean, this is a year, in this year and in this month. This is a year and month. So in every year, Oracle applies minimum 4 patches. Minimum 4 patches. Each quarter 1 patch. Okay. Each quarter 1 patch. So there won't be any big impact on financials. Just to understand that point we are discussing. In the first quarter, in between Jan to March, they apply 1 patch. April to June, they apply 1 patch. Okay. From July to September, they apply 1 patch. Okay. And October to December, they apply. They can apply in any month. In any one of the month in that quarter, they apply the patches. So that's how Oracle can apply the patches. Now in this instance, when they apply the patch, you can see here. Year 2022, in July month, they applied the patch. Here, what is the 22C? 22A means first patch is applied. When? So there it would be the year and month. 22B means second patch is applied. Second quarter. B means second quarter. 22B. B. Now 22C means third quarter patch. 22C means third quarter. Third quarter when they applied the patch? July month. So now we are in the fourth quarter of the year. So whenever they apply the patch, they may apply in the October or November or December. At any point of time, they can apply the patch. Accordingly, this instance will get updated as a 22D. If they apply the patch in the current month, October, they'll update as a 2210. Next month means 11. December means 12. So that's how they'll update the release of the instance, including the patches when they applied very recently. Okay. Please go on mute. Is it any question or please? Okay, this is what we have to understand. Okay. So if you want to understand any instance related release, so here you can find release 13. Earlier it was 12, 11, 10. Okay, you no need to count this version. Version is constant, fixed all the time. It is 11 only, right from beginning to till today. That is the version is 11, and release only we have to count. And again that release, in that release, when the latest patches are applied, when the latest updates are applied on this instance, if you want to understand, you can see which quarter, third quarter. Okay. Now just we entered to fourth quarter the week back. So very soon they'll apply our latest patch, which is related to this quarter. So this is how you can understand the instance belongs to which release. When you talk about Fusion, always you talk about release only. Somebody says we are using Fusion instance, you may ask like which release of application you are using. The latest one is 13. Okay. The patch quarter will decide when the patches are applied. Okay, by seeing this, you can understand. So say, for example, here 21C means, so they applied patch 1 year back. That's what you have to understand. 22C means current year, the last quarter. That's all. So any questions to understand these points, please? Okay. Always you have to count this 13. This is a primary point you have to understand from this. Yeah.
Sir, 11 and 13 will never change then? Going forward?
They can change to 14. So yeah, 13 was 12 earlier. Prior to that, it was 11. It was 10. It was 9. 11 is always fixed. This is the version. Okay. This is a release. The release, they always change. Now from last 2 to 3 years, what they are doing is they are not changing 13 also. Okay, 13 they are keeping as this, and they are presenting the changes with this year and month, which are related to specific quarter patches. That's all. Very soon they may change to 14, or they may not change. They may apply the patches. They may continue with the release 13 only as of now. Okay. So that doesn't make any difference. If they are changing to 14, we call as a release 14. That's all. The financials applications are very much stabilized. If they are going to change from 13 to 14 by considering many other applications only, they may change. But financials applications are very much stabilized and everything is doing good. There is no kind of stuff where they have to focus on financials. They have to do the changes. Those changes they have to represent with the 14 or 15. Then there is no much scope for financials. It's very much stabilized. Any other questions?
Sir, one more question. How do we know if this application is SaaS, PaaS or IaaS?
So some instances they include within the URL. You see in this URL, they're given here SaaS, right?
Right.
Yes. Yeah. SaaS FA demo. FA means Fusion Applications Demo 1. So that's how they include within the instance URL. In some instance URLs, they don't include. Okay, you can talk to Oracle to include if you want to see that SaaS or PaaS within the URL itself. Yep. So
Okay,
any,
sir. Thank you.
any other questions, please?
Yes, this is Arun here.
Yeah, Arun.
So when they do a new release, so they coordinate with us as clients to make sure that it doesn't impact our functionalities.
No. What they do is when they come up with a new release, they'll release that note in the Oracle website. When you are working consultant, you will have access to that global support portal.
Okay.
So readiness document they'll release. They are going to come up with which release or which patch application. So within that, any new features are available related to financial or any updates, any patches, bug fixing, etc., what that includes. For that, they release the document. The document you can go through and you can understand how it is going to impact. So that's how you can come to know. And once the patch is applied on this instance, those features you can find here. If you click on new features as a part of 22C, what else added to this instance as a new, those you can see in this list. If you click on new features, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to reiterate the same question in a different way, right?
Yeah.
So when they do release, and then let's say now, obviously now financials is very stable, so they're not going to change the functionality of how it works. But say, for example, there's an inter-module interaction between, let's say, I'm just making it up, in taxes or, intercompany or, something has changed, right?
Correct.
Which actually will impact us. So we are responsible from our side in order to make sure that it works.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you?
Yes.
Have you seen that they have released something and they actually impacted the customers? Have you seen it?
See, it happened few years back, 2-3 years back. Definitely, there were many features Oracle was not incorporated in that past releases. Okay, whenever they come up with a new release, so definitely there will be connectivity. There will be some kind of dependency on some other features. They need some enhancements and all. Now, whatever from last 2 years, I don't see kind of some impact on existing features. And mostly they are not releasing anything related to financials also, since it's a stable product. And other areas, okay, so PPM, project portfolio management, and manufacturing applications, okay, in some areas related to procurement, okay, there are some changes which they are doing and which they are enhancing or which they are introducing as some new features.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when they do that, it'll become more like a traditional, ERP, how we do these upgrades. We had to go to intensive testing.
Correct. Exactly.
Right.
Just we'll verify. We'll just that too we can talk to Oracle. Okay, you can talk to Oracle. We want to upgrade to latest. If you are a SaaS customer, so easily they can upgrade. Since we are not killing these applications by doing the customization. If you inform to Oracle today, maybe in your non-working hours, they'll convert your environment to latest release, that to test environment initially. You can verify. Because since you do too much customizations, you are a SaaS customer, you no need to worry about because of this upgrade. So simply a high level, you can go and verify. In payables, everything's working fine or not after applying these patches or upgrade activity. If everything is working fine, you can talk to Oracle team and they'll convert your production also into latest. If any issues you are facing, you can report to Oracle and they'll fix those and they'll make a note. Whenever you just convert, Oracle will convert your production into latest. You can keep eye on those areas where you face some issues in the test environment. That's all. That also Oracle will help to fix.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Fine. Any other questions, please? Okay. So just make a note of these points. They're just from where you can find out. And when you talk about latest, we have to refer with release. The latest release is 13. That's what you have to understand. Version is 11. That is always fixed. You don't need to talk about version. When you talk about fusion, So release 13 is the latest. Again, that when they applied the patches or when latest changes they did, if you want to understand, you can see year and month also. That's all. But when you talk about financials, even they are going to come up with a new release also. Mostly you don't see any changes. So almost all are incorporated as a part of financials since they introduced this product into market around 6 years back. Okay, 6 years back. So 7 years back, but from last 5 years, it's very much stabilized. So that is the reason within this period, almost all which are missing, they included. So that's all about how you can verify the release of the product, release of the instance. Now we'll see how to create the implementation project. When we talk about implementation project, already we discussed, the purpose is purely to perform the setups. You want to implement payables. If you want to do the payable setups, it's always recommended that do setups from implementation project. You can do the setups without implementation project also. Implementation project creation is not mandatory. Why we are creating implementation project? Just to do the setups. Implementation project creation is not mandatory. So if you create implementation project, there are certain advantages that will come to know very soon. Now let's focus on how to create the implementation project. Okay, we have seen how to enable the offerings and options. Now we'll see how to create the implementation project. So to create the implementation project, you can click on username. Okay, you can click on username. Click on setup and maintenance task. So from this page only, we navigated to offerings. Now from the same page, okay, from the same page, you can click on task list. You can find notepad kind of icon. This we call as a task list. It contains multiple tasks. That is the reason we call as a task list, or you can call it as a task pan or task panel. Just click on this task list and click on manage implementation project. These all are different tasks. Okay, these are the different tasks which we can perform. Now the first task is manage implementation project. If you click on manage implementation project task, it will take us to the page from where we can create our own project. Here project means to perform the setups. We have to limit that definition of implementation project in FSM to doing setups. That's all. Just click on manage implementation project task. So in this page, you can create our own project. Okay. So when we talk about real-time implementation, how many implementation projects we have to create? It's very simple. For each country, you can create the separate implementation project. You are going to do the implementation for our client for 4 countries, for example. If you are going to do the implementation for 4 countries for our client, for each country, you can create the separate implementation projects, and the total data will get stored in the same database, single database only. But when we are doing the setups, you can avoid the confusion, okay, towards the setups what we are doing. Okay, towards what are the setups we are doing. So that is the reason you have to create the separate implementation projects for each country. So you are doing implementation for 4 countries. And if you want to create the single implementation project, yes, you can create single implementation project, no issues at all. Okay, single implementation project you can create. Here you can see many projects are created in this instance. It's all created for practice purpose. Okay, reality, if you are going to do the implementation for your client, if your client is doing the business in only 1 country, if you are doing the fusion applications for only 1 country business operations, we create only 1 project here, not require more than 1. If you are doing the implementation for multiple countries, for each country you may create 1 separate project, or else with 1 project also you can do the setups for multiple projects. Sometimes, somewhere something goes wrong. What exactly those you will understand when you do the setups. For that reason, as a best practice, For each country, we create separate implementation project, and by using those projects, respective country teams can perform the setups. Okay, so this is a point you have to understand. First, we'll see how to create the implementation project. After that, we'll discuss if you have any questions related to the same process. Okay, so how we are navigating to this page, you have to connect to the instance, click on username. Okay, just click on username. And it will open this panel. From this panel, click on setup and maintenance task. Here you can find the task list. Click on task list. Click on manage implementation projects. In fresh instance, if you come to this page, you will find this page like this, blank page. You don't find any project in this page. Whatever we create, that would be the first project. Since we are using this instance for testing purpose, practice purpose, here you can find many sample projects which are created for their practice purpose. Fine. Let's see how to create our own implementation project. To create our own implementation project, click on this create icon. Click on this create icon. So by default, it is creating the name as implementation project 8. And if you save this and if you create one more, it will create implementation project 9, implementation project 10. So this is the default naming convention Oracle is creating. Now this name you can change. So we want to have this implementation project name as a Google implementation project. And you can remove this sequence number and use tab. The same name will be copied as a code and everything it is taking the uppercase instead of taking any space is taking underscore. Okay, it is taking underscore. So the same name it is defaulting as a description also. And the project what we are creating is implementation project. The status is not started. We're not at starting doing the setups by using this project. That is the default status. And by default, system is going to assign this implementation project to current user. Our current user is Google. Our implementation project is going to be assigned to same user. If you want to change the user, you can change. You can click on search and you can find another user and you can select. Okay. So by default, it is assigning. Again, the assignment is not mandatory also. Okay. You can select this blank. Okay. So the project is not going to be assigned to any user. By default, system is going to assign to current user. Accept it, no issues. Who has to create this implementation project? Who knows how to create implementation project? They have to create. Don't think this is the implementation project manager has to create. It is not real project execution management. It is just related to setups. Who has to do the setups? Consultants. So consultants only creates this implementation project in instance to perform the setups. Don't think manager creates this project. No. And what is the start date and finish date? What is the start date and finish date for the setups? When you are going to do the setups, from which date you are going to start with the setups, by which date you are going to complete all the setups. This is all you have to specify. By default, system is taking the start date and you can provide the finish date. Finish date is not mandatory. Okay. Say we want to complete all the setups by 20th. Okay. So by 20th, we want to complete all the setups for all the applications or all our offerings and options which we are going to have within this project. So that's how you can give some tentative finish date, not required exactly. Later also you can change. You plan to complete by 20th, but you identified by 20th, you could not do the setups. You may extend that. That is just for information purpose only. The dates are not going to have any control. Okay. So there are no rules behind the dates. Even after 20th also, system will allow you to do the setups by using this implementation project. That is just for information, so that the setups, how many are pending, those need to be completed by which date. Okay. So how many are overdue? We are supposed to complete by 20th. Say today date is 25th. So the system will display these setups are supposed to complete by 20th. Today is 25th, 5 days late or 6 days late, 6 days overdue. So that's how system can provide this data. For that, you can provide the finish date or else ignore it. Okay. So name, the same name system is defaulting as a code and description. And by default, the implementation project, what we are creating, the status is not started. And it is assigning that implementation project to current user. If you want to remove that, you can just remove. You can select blank, so that project won't be assigned to any user. It would be there in the FSM, and you can start working on that. You can accept what system is selecting. You can accept, and you can provide the start date and the finish date. Now what we can do is you can click on next, so that within this instance, what are the offerings and options are already enabled, those you can see to select into this implementation project. Just click on next. Click on next. So wait for a moment. It will list out all the offerings and options which are available in this instance. Which are available means which are enabled. Say for example, you have all these offerings. You enable only these 3. Now system will display only these 3. Even if these 2 are available in the instance, it won't display. If you enable, then only those will be displayed here. Just wait for a moment. It has to fetch all those offerings and options. The same it will display here. And you can include, or you can select what offerings and options you are going to implement for your client. Those you can select into this implementation project. Now it is listing out all the available offerings which are enabled already in this instance. If you don't enable offerings and options at the time of project creation, you cannot find those here. So into our implementation project, we want to select financials. Here we have financials, say include. So within the financials, we have a different options. So we are going to implement supplier invoice processing, nothing but payables application. Now see, you don't see general ledger application. At the time of enabling on the offerings and options, there they are displaying. If you enable financials, you can get general ledger application. But when you are including, they are not displaying, but you have to understand within the financials, you will have a general ledger application also. You no need to include separately. So as a part of financials, what you want to include? Supplier invoice processing you want to include. And expense, fusion expense application you want to include. And fixed assets application you want to include. Customer invoice processing, receivables application you want to include. And what are the other options or sub options you want to include, you can include. You can include everything, nothing wrong. Within the financials, whatever available, you can include it. So whatever we will implement, those only we can implement. Rest of all, whatever you are selecting, since you are not implementing, no issues at all. Okay. You can select everything, no issues. And whatever you want to implement those only. Once you select, it won't become mandatory to implement. So those would be available as a part of our project. If you want to implement, or else no issues. So this is how you can include. You see that like column as include. So from financials, these are the different options we are going to include. Okay. Say for your client, you are not going to implement receivables application. Now customer invoice processing, you can disable it. You are not going to implement receivables application for our client, you can disable it. Okay. So this is what we have to understand. After selecting, including offering and relevant options, you can say save and open project. When you click on save and open project, within this financials offering, what are the different options we selected? To perform the setups for specific option, system creates the task list. Take example, supplier invoice processing we included. If you want to implement this supplier invoice processing, what we have to do is, you have to complete the payable related setups. What are the setups are available for payables application now system will generate. Okay. So after selecting offerings and options, we implement all those options, which is setups we have to perform, that system will list out. For that, we have to click on save and open project. It takes some time because it has to generate many tasks. So for payables, receivables, expense application, fixed assets, and different application, it has to generate the task list. That is the reason it is taking time. Now you can see it generated task list. The task list name is financials. You can expand it. So again, within the financials, there are different folders. Okay. So if you want to implement payables application by using this folder, you can do the setups. Within this folder, there will be list of setups. We have to complete those setups so that payables application would be ready to use. If you want to implement expense application, within this define expense configuration folder, what are the setups are available, those we have to perform. For fixed assets, list of setups. For receivables, list of setups. For revenue management, list of setups. For cash management application, list of setups. So that's how they are grouping the relevant setups into different folders and their display. Now, by going through these folders, you can perform the setups. For example, I want to expand further, define invoicing and payment configuration, nothing but payables, expand it. Again, within that, we have subfolders. Let's expand any one of the subfolder. Under that, we have a tasks. Okay, define payables is task list. Wherever you see the folder option, folder icon, that is a task list only that contains multiple tasks. If you take example as define payables, under payables task list, we have a multiple tasks. These are the different tasks. Say, for example, you want to create payables payment terms. What does it mean by payables payment terms? We will discuss and will create in the system when we are dealing with the payables, just for our understanding. Okay, say you want to create payables payment terms. If you want to create, you can click on go to task icon. Just click on go to task icon. So it will take us to that page, from which page you can create the payment terms. From this page, you can create the payment terms. Okay. So you don't need to understand what does it mean by payment terms now. We are not dealing with that. Just to understand how to go to specific page, we are taking example as a payment terms. Fine. So this is how system creates task list. So the task list may be related to specific application, or within that application, the task list may be refers some set of tasks. So this is what we have to understand when you create implementation project. How we created implementation project, we given the name and we included offerings and options into our implementation project. Or else what we can do is, you can create new implementation project without selecting offerings and options. Later you can add those into the project. For example, we added entire financials. Within the financials offering, we have a different options. But you don't want to implement fixed assets application for your client. Then what you can do is, you can select fixed assets application or fixed assets option. Now click on delete or say remove. From our financials offering, a fixed assets option will be removed. Say yes. Now see, we don't have any fixed assets related folder. So this is how we can delete it. If you want to include anything, you can include. Okay. If you want to include anything, you can include here. For example, so we created this implementation project without selecting any offering, for example. I'm just removing this, delete it. Say yes. Just wait for a moment. Financials means inside of financials, we have many task lists. So that it is taking time. Now, this is empty project. Okay, empty project. If you want to add any offering or option, you can add here. Click on create. You want to add financials. So financials is offering only. So search criteria is offerings. Search for financials. Click on search. Select. Click on apply. Now with the financials, what are the setups we have to complete? For all those setups, it will create the task list. The task list will be added into our project. Just wait for a moment. It takes time because it has to generate all the tasks to add to our project. Just wait for a moment. It will complete. Fine. The background you can see it's added. Now you can say done. So this is how you can create the implementation project. Okay. You can remove the offerings or options into this project from this project, or else you can add anything at any point of time into this project. Okay. So just make a note of these points. Okay. Again, in the tomorrow session also, we'll go through how to create the blank project directly, how to add the offerings and options, and what are the other points we have to understand related to project before we go and perform the setups. We'll discuss all those points in the tomorrow session. So we're done for today. If you have any questions, you can stay back. We will discuss. If no questions, we'll connect tomorrow same time. Thank you all.
Hi
Any
there.
questions
I
from
got a question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have all these setups which is down related to the
Your voice is very low. Like
voice is very low. Is it better
Yeah.
now?
now it's okay. Yep.
Okay, I'll try to be a little bit more louder.
Please,
So
please. Thank
now
you.
we did all the financial related setups, right? Now one step higher, like the business units or country specific, those setups, how do we add it up?
We'll discuss those here
We'll
directly.
discuss.
Not we have to understand the concept. Based on that concept, you can do those setups.
Okay.
We have one concept called as enterprise structure, which is equal to multi-org in the EBS.
Okay.
There we
And
about it.
okay, fine. So we're going to go into the details for that. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, very, very detailed, everything. Now just we are
Okay.
talking about how to create the project, what we do as a next step and further setups. In the sequence of setups, we'll discuss everything and we'll do the same in the system.
Okay, great. Now, if we in the real world, if we really have a a project which is going
Yeah.
on, like the project management thing,
Hmm.
can be exported there, or this can be connected to it?
No. See, here nothing to do with a project execution management or project plan related, etc. It is just one of the activity what we do as a part of project, and that we are calling as implementation project. Reality, we should call it as setup project, but Oracle given the name as implementation project, we are calling as implementation project only. So this you cannot connect to anything related to your real project.
And this cannot be exported as an Excel sheet or something too, right?
So this within this, by using this project, what are the setups you are doing, those you can export and you can load in the other instance. You can move the setups from one instance to another instance by using this implementation project. That is possible.
Okay, that is different. That is the actual,
Correct. Yeah.
all your payment terms,
Yeah,
all
that
your
is
tax,
possible. But connecting and linking with some project execution management related activities, no.
okay, fine. Okay, cool. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Lakshman,
Please.
I joined a little late. I'm not sure. I'll have to see the recording. But from the time I joined, remember you said that for this implementation project, when you're creating, by default it attaches a user, but you can actually remove it. But by attaching a user, does it make it more easy that when we log in from the
Yes,
user,
yes.
really click that's right, the implementation project comes as a list there with the options?
Correct. See, reality, when you work for real implementations and all, you don't find many projects. You work for one client.
Correct.
Fact is providing one instance for only one client only. They are not giving same instance for multiple clients. So always think you will have one or two projects only. Whenever you go to that page, that project will be visible. But when you are using the instance for your practice purpose, there will be a number of implementation projects. Everybody creates their own implementation project. In such kind of scenario, if your project is assigned to user, it will be, your project will be defaulted for your user when you go to that page. That's how you can take the advantage of assigning the user to project. Apart from that, no use.
Thank you, Lakshman.
Yeah, thanks. We will come to all those. We all will see those. So how to do the assignments, where it will reflect. Okay. So maybe in the next session, we'll see all those, how to assign. We can assign the offerings and options to team members. Once they start working on that, they can update the status. Based on that, we can measure the progress of the project. All these points will come to know in tomorrow's session.
Sure. One more question.
Yeah.
See, whenever you are going to any page, for example, even for adding these two roles called application implementation consultant, IT security manager, or maybe the kind of offerings and options, you already know from the lookups what you need to type, because there is no blind search. I think I logged in and checked. There is no blind search. It is asking us to give some prompt. Now, how will I know? I do not know how to have a lookups. Earlier, we used to have a lookup where you have a list of things. Now, how do I know?
Some pages they are giving. Okay, the pages they are giving, some pages they are not giving. So when it comes to that roles and all, you have to know the role name and you have to type. And we have another option also where you can find out all the roles which are available in this instance. So that you will understand in one of the session where we deal with the concept called as role customization. We can create our own roles as per the business requirement. So in that session, I'll take you through all those details. How to copy the role, how to modify the role, how to create the role from the scratch, where you can find all the roles. We will have a separate session for that. So that also included in our course curriculum. So as of now, just how to find the roles, what roles we have to assign. Let's try to understand these basic points. Going forward, slowly we'll get to know everything what we are expecting and what we should know.
Sure. Thank you, Lakshman.
Yeah, thanks.
Sir,
Hi,
in case
Lakshman.
of
Please.
Quick question. So I know you might be talking after a day or 2 days regarding the primary ledger and
Correct.
ledger options. So would you be able to cover the secondary ledger and as well as
All
the reporting
we
currency?
cover reporting ledger, secondary ledger, consolidation ledger. Okay,
Oh,
rules,
okay.
cross-validation rules, data access set,
So those
translation, consolidations.
okay, those part you will be covering in GL or
Yeah, as a
the
part
starting of the primary?
No.
Okay.
See, to start with the financials application, we have to do few setups, right? Like
Okay.
ledger creation and all. Those will
Okay.
will start working on the financials application. When we deal with the general ledger application, what are the features are available within the general ledger? So we will cover these all different type of ledgers.
Sure. Thank you so much, Lakshman.
Yeah,
That's all.
thanks. Any questions, please?
Yeah, Lakshman.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, actually I'm asking about the implementation project. Is we have to create the implementation project for each module, or there is only one implementation project for all the modules?
Yeah, only for one country, one implementation project is enough. Within that, you may have one offering or multiple offerings, that is up to the scope of implementation. As per the implementation,
Okay.
how many offerings and options you are going to implement, those all you can include into same implementation project. You know,
Okay. But under one offering, we have multiple applications or options.
correct. Multiple
suppose,
offerings and options.
One user is working on one option, another user working on another option. Means it is an application. Options means here application in Fusion, correct?
One second.
So
Here, when you say users, okay, user part is different from consultant role. Okay. Here, when we talk about implementation project, only consultants will get access to implementation project.
yeah, consultant. I'm here consultant only. Means suppose one consultant is doing the setup for AR. So he can create the implementation project for AR only, or in
no,
only
not
there
required.
is. Okay, there is
What
only
we
one
will do
project.
What we'll do is to access FSM, what role is required for the user? Application implementation consultant, right?
Right.
Say one consultant is going to work for payables to do the implementation, another consultant for receivables, the other consultant for fixed assets. For 3 consultants will give the access to application implementation consultant role. We create the project in the FSM only. So the 3 users or 3 consultants will get access to FSM. So they are responsible for what they will do the setup, since they got access to application implementation consultant role, which allows them to do any setups.
Okay.
So we should not plan to limit the access for these consultants. Consultants should have a flexibility to do any setups. Okay. If business user is working for payables, we have to limit that business user access to only for payables. If business user is going to work for receivables to record the transactions, we have to give the permissions to have access receivables related environment only. But when you talk about consultants, we'll allow all the consultants to have access to FSM to perform the setups with the help of application implementation consultant. If they are responsible to do the setups for payables, they do it. Otherwise, they don't touch. They know everything in and out, what should be done, what should not be done.
For their own setup, they can create their own project, implementation project.
Not required. That's what I'm saying. One project you can create, all can work on the same project to do their area of the setups.
Okay. Got it now. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Sir, in case of multiple operating units within the same country,
Same,
that case,
same implementation project.
Okay.
Even if you have multiple, okay, it could be a single structure or a multiple organization structure. You may have a multiple primary ledgers, multiple legal entities, multiple operations, multiple inventory organizations. One implementation project is enough for one country. For multiple countries also, you can use single implementation project also. But when we are doing setups, there is a chance where you do mistakes. Where exactly you may do mistakes, how we may mess with the setups and all that also I'll just touch base.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Lakshman, are there any limitations for deleting these options under the offerings?
No limitation. You can any point of time you can go and delete. But whatever the say you created implementation project, you included a few offerings and options, and you did few setups. Still system will allow you to delete offerings and options. Just you are deleting offerings and options which are part of project. With those offerings and options, what are the setups you've done, those will get stored in the database. These offerings and options are allowing us to navigate to certain pages. You are removing the navigation, but you are not removing the data what already you stored in the database by taking that navigations.
Okay.
You will see, like you will understand when you do the setups at this point. Yeah.
Okay.
See in the system, it would be clear.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, Lakshman, actually I missed yesterday's session. So in order to get the instance access, so shall I connect with the team?
Yeah, can talk to the team. They'll arrange.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Yeah, please. Yeah, fine. Yeah, try to complete the same what we did in the instance, user creation and project creation, so that tomorrow's session would be very easy for us. Okay, so very easy. Otherwise, when you see, like, it would be like, yeah, it's a simple thing. Once we start working on the instance, so that will help you a lot to understand further sessions. If any questions, let me know. We'll discuss. If no questions, we'll wind up. Connect tomorrow same time.
Lakshman, quick question. So assigning role to the user and assigning data access role to the user, is this both are same or is it different?
Different.
Oh, okay.
Say for example, say for example, you have EBS background or what?
I have a little bit of knowledge about it.
No issues. See, so giving access to role means, say one user is working for payables department. You will give access to payables role.
Okay.
Payables, with the help of payables role, the user will get access to payables related invoice page as well as payment page, for example. Okay. The payables role you assign to the payables department accountant, and the payables accountant can get access to invoice creation page and to payment creation page. But that accountant is going to create those transactions for which branch? Okay, which branch? You may call it as branch definition in the system as operating unit or business unit. So you have to specify that. That we call as a data access.
Okay.
When the user is going to create that invoice, the invoice belongs to which branch or which company, that they have to specify. That we call as a data access.
Okay, it's a data access rule, right? Rule to
not
user.
Role, not role. To role we give the data access. Means we'll allow the user to create transactions with which primary ledger or which business unit or which operating unit. That specification we call as data access. You don't think now it's not required. By understanding that you are not going to do anything now. So very soon. Okay, very soon, maybe I can guess like it's the 4th session. Maybe after 3-4 classes, we will be working on that activity. How to assign what is the meaning of assigning the roles? What does it mean by giving the access to the user for specific data? Means data access, how we can provide to the user. If you provide data access, what user can do. If you don't provide, what user cannot do. We'll come across all these points. We'll do in the system practically.
Okay, so the reason why I'm asking is, while in this instance, the fusion instance, we have an option using.
No, one second. Since we didn't cover that in our classes, don't worry about it.
Okay. Sure.
Already we covered, you got confused, you need clarity. We can spend enough time to discuss, which is not discussed. If we start discussing, we don't know how much time it required to get clarity. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Cover. Yeah.
Thank you.
Once we cover, if you have any questions, that we can spend enough time, but I'll make sure that everything you'll understand. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Any questions, please? So seems to no questions. That's all for today. We'll connect tomorrow same time. Thank you all.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Sir, today only I joined demo session, sir, by contacting your team.
Okay.
I'm currently pursuing MBA, sir. Is this a correct time to take this course, or means after taking this course, will I have opportunities in the market?
Pursuing MBA means like when you started?
The first year, sir. I'm at the end of the first year, sir.
Yeah, better you can plan after at least once you complete 3 semesters, you can plan for this. I don't suggest now. If you start now, you are not going to work on this. You'll forget everything. Now it's not mandatory for you to focus on this, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
maybe after completing third semester, when you are in the fourth semester, you can start learning and you can complete and you can start practicing. You can get ready by the time of MBA completion. You will be ready with this skill set. So that's how you can apply for job as a fresher, or else the campus recruitment and all, you will be able to address in your profile saying that. So you have a skill set on Oracle Fusion Cloud Financials that will give good weightage for you.
Okay.
Don't
Sir,
allow
will
to
there
do
be
it.
fresher roles in March?
Yeah, freshers also, but lesser opportunities.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So
Okay, sir.
don't do this course now. You just plan after maybe 1 year, 1 or 1.5 years. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay.
That will
Thank
help.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah. So any questions? Fine. No questions. Okay, we'll connect tomorrow same time. Thank you all.